Valerie VanBooven, and I'm glad that you all could join us today. We had tons and tons of folks who signed up to attend this webinar, so I'm very thankful that you all are taking the time out of your day to join us. Today, this is kind of a part 2 webinar. We are going to talk about doubling your leads, doubling your business, the home care marketing 1-2 punch for better business. I realize that many of you on this call probably didn't hear part 1 of this, so I am going to send out the link to the video for part 1. But this, you'll be able to follow along. This will be no problem at all. And we're going to go ahead and get started here. Let's go on to, there we go. So here's our agenda for today. I'm Valerie VanBooven. I'm a registered nurse. I am the co-owner of LTC Expert Publications, if you all don't know me. We do online marketing for home care agencies and assisted living facilities primarily. 90% of our business is the home health care and home care private duty market. So I'm going to share some online marketing strategies for home care that are generating more referrals, leads, and inquiries than ever before. And then we have our fabulous special guest, Steve the Hurricane Weiss. He's going to share his tips and strategies for blowing away the competition in your local area using offline methods, referral sources, and all those kinds of good things. And then finally, at the end, we are both going to talk about an event that's coming up, and I want you to stay on for this, because after we talk about this event, we're also going to take cute questions and answers live for as long as we have time. So we're going to talk about the July Hurricane Marketing Boot Camp. It's July 10th and 11th in New York at the Sheraton LaGuardia East, and so I want all of you to attend. Of course, we only have 100 seats or less, but we hope that you can all come and meet us in person. So with that, let's get started with the webinar. Okay, we have talked about this stuff in length. This is my passion. This is what I talk about all day long, and this is what my team does all day long. We talk about online marketing strategies, and we implement them for home care agencies. So we've discussed this in length, and this was what I'm talking about part 1 in our little series here. The link is below. Did you miss part 1? I'll email everyone the link to the video. It's actually, I had to re-record it, so it's only about 20-25 minutes long, so it's a real easy listen. But on that, we talked about all the things that your website should be doing for you, the content that should be on your website, the calls to action, like call now or fill out our form, that should be on your website. We talked about whether or not you should be doing AdWords or pay-per-click. I'm not sure if everybody knows what that is, but we talked about that. We talked about authority sites. Authority sites are websites that you don't manage or you don't own, but you've contributed an article to them. They're all about Alzheimer's, or they're all about elder care, they're all about caregiver stress. We've talked about the content and links that you need there. We've talked about social media. We've talked about getting great reviews. And we've talked about e-newsletters. So these are the things that really will enhance your business and help your business if they're done correctly. So those are the things we've talked about in length in the past. So right now, what I want to talk to you about, I'm going to tell you kind of a little story. And some of this, I learned parts and pieces of this from Steve. It's always been something I hope people would do, but I think I've found a way to kind of put it all together a little bit better. So if you have a good website and you're blog posting and you have an e-newsletter that goes out every month, those are the basic things that are going to get you more leads in the online marketing world. So I'm going to tell you a story about Jane and Martha. Jane has many connections in her local community, but there are about 10 or 15 people or organizations that she would love to get referrals from. Some of them already have favorites. Some of them she has a hard time getting into. To see, she's, but there are 10 or 15 folks out there she would really like to have on her side. So for this story, she's going to select about 3 people to start, 3 organizations: a local assisted living facility, a local rehab or a SNF, and a local hospice. She really wants to get referrals for her home care agency from these other organizations. And she's worked really hard over the years to make contacts, but there's a couple of people out there she just hasn't been able to reach. So Jane sends each key decision maker or her best contact at those facilities an email and then follows up with a phone call. And here is what she says. She says, "Dear Martha, I hope this note finds you well. It was great meeting you last week at the chamber meeting. Our company, ABC Home Care, has a website, a blog, a monthly newsletter that goes out to about 600 consumers and business people in our area, plus we are very active on Facebook and LinkedIn. I was wondering if I could feature you and Autumn Oaks Assisted Living," of course I made all these things up, "through a brief article that will appear on our website, all of our social media, and in our next monthly newsletter. We like to feature other businesses that serve seniors in our community. If this is okay with you, I just need to schedule an appointment to meet with you at your office. I have a brief set of questions, and I'd like to take a picture of the front of the facility. Please let me know a time and a day that work for you. I will also call your office today and leave you a message about this on your voicemail if you aren't available. Sincerely, Jane Doe, ABC Home Care, blah, blah, blah." So Jane sends this email. Jane of ABC Home Care sends this to Martha at Autumn Oaks Assisted Living. Martha reads this email, and Martha thinks this would be a great idea. She is very flattered. She sends Jane a note back, and they set up an appointment for the following week. And I'm just making sure that I have everybody. Everybody's good. Okay. Okay, so Martha's in love. Jane and Martha meet. Jane interviews Martha about the features, amenities, and advantages that Autumn Oaks Assisted Living brings to their community. They also talk about referrals, referral sources, about Jane's home care business, and much, much more. They're kind of in the same boat. They both want to get some referrals. Jane and Martha have a lot in common, and they become friends. That's great. The article. A week later, Martha receives 2 items. This is Martha at the assisted living facility. She receives 2 things: an email from Jane with a link to their latest newsletter, Facebook page, and their blog. She sees herself there. She sees her article. She sees all the things that they talked about, and a beautiful little write-up about their facility, about her, about how they, welcome new residents. And number 2, a family calls to talk to Martha about their father who is considering assisted living. They heard about Martha in Autumn Oaks through Jane's newsletter. They set up an appointment to tour the facility. Martha gets a lead. That's pretty cool. The referral relationship. 1 month later, Jane gets a referral from Martha, and the month after that, Martha gets 2 referrals from Jane. They have established an ongoing referral relationship. Remember that Jane asked for nothing from Martha but a small piece of Martha's time when they first met, or when she first sent out that email. Martha actually received the first piece of business from this relationship, which is a happy unintentional consequence, but that's great. And Jane of the home care agency of ABC Home Care has a new partner in the local community. This all worked out really well. So how many times can Jane repeat this process? How many times can she do this for somebody else in her community? As many times as she wants. She can reel in those big fish as many times as she wants by offering them something before asking them for something. So part of this referral relationship is not to walk in the door and say, hey, could you give me some referrals? It's about saying, hey, what can I do to help you do more business? What can I do to help highlight your company, to help make you stand out in the local area? I can do a little bit for you, and you might get a lead from it. How about that? They would say yes, of course they will. Okay, so a couple of things. It is very fast and furious, but that is how you take your online, all of the things that you should be doing, your website, your blogging, your newsletter, your Facebook, take all of that information and you turn it into an offline relationship, meaning a referral relationship. By the way, if you all have questions, we will take questions at the end of the presentation, so you can type them in any time. So if anything I just said to you about the story that I just told you, which absolutely happens all the time if you know what you're doing, if you want to ask questions about that, how does that work, what happens, you are more than welcome to type in your question in the little questions pane, and when we get all the way to the end of the webinar, we will spend as much time as you like on questions and answers. So the last thing I want to tell you about is, have you ever seen, I wonder if George is on yet. He probably is. Have you ever seen those Hyundai commercials? I love them. And they say, there's George. Hi, George. George. Hi.
Hello.
Did you see my slide, George? It says, don't tell George.
I know, I see.
Uh-huh. So
yep.
he can't get too mad at me because he's too far away. So Hyundai always says, the best stories start with don't tell. So my slide is titled, Don't Tell George. But I'm just going to give you a little snippet of a hint here. Don't tell George that I said this. But George has put together something new that we're about to introduce to the home care community that has to do with AdWords and pay-per-click. I know lots of people aren't fans of AdWords and pay-per-click because you can run through money in a heartbeat. But we put together a system that works really well, and we are still in a little bit of a beta mode for a few more weeks. But if everything goes the way we think it's going to go, we will have a way for you all to generate real leads through pay-per-click that don't cost you an arm and a leg. So just know that, but don't tell George I said that. But we'll talk about that more in our next webinar. Okay. Did I do all right, George?
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
All right.
Just
okay.
enough.
Just enough. See the kids eating the ice cream? This is something I would do to I'd give my kids this and say, don't tell your dad. So, okay. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is this. Steve the Hurricane. He is an expert at marketing, promoting, selling, networking, and managing marketing personnel for any healthcare company. I've had the pleasure of listening to 1.5 days, I guess, of Steve speak at the Dallas boot camp that was held in February. I was one of the speakers, and it's his boot camp. I was a guest speaker. So I have had the pleasure of listening to him, and I can tell you that it was fabulous. I have, as you might imagine, I have spoken at a lot of conferences in my life, and I have listened to a lot of presenters, and boy, oh boy, there are some bad presenters out there. So anyway, he was fabulous. I had a great time. Everybody was motivated. They learned a ton. I learned a ton, which I never say about any conference that I go to, and it was really good. So having said that, I want to welcome Steve the Hurricane Weiss. Welcome, Steve.
Hi, Valerie. How are you?
Very good. I am going to turn the screen over to you just in 1 second here, and then you can take over. Screen sharing, changing presenter to Steve. Yes.
And how do I, let's see, do I
hey.
accept this?
So everybody hang on 1 second, and by the way,
Let's see, share my camera, not that. Try the, let's see.
say yes.
Am I showing my screen?
Not yet, but I could be a little bit behind. You have to accept, there should be a little pop-up that asks you to accept the screen.
Yeah, that's take control.
You can do that.
Cannot take control, that's what it's telling me. There we go, all right.
Did you get it?
No, not yet. Sorry, everybody, technology is not my forte, so remember.
Well, we've had our share of insanity. Don't worry. Let's try this again. Change presenter. And now I don't see you at all. I can only make George or Valerie the presenter.
Yeah, I'm looking at this right here. I'm entered in here. I'm an organizer, that's what, or I'm a panelist. I'm not an organizer, though.
George is a panelist, too. So I'll tell you what. I should be able to give it to you. It let me because you were on the list originally.
Mm-hmm.
You're marked as a presenter, Steve.
What was that, George?
You're marked as a presenter.
Yes, I see. All right, show my screen. There we go. It just came through. All right, everybody. Now we are in business. Awesome. So thank you so much, Val, for that introduction. I appreciate it. And it was such an honor having you at my my February 2014 kickoff boot camp seminar. And for all the people listening, I am Steve the Hurricane, as Val said, and for the last 2 years or so, I've been the owner of Hurricane Marketing Enterprises, and we help people with their direct referral marketing. And the reason why I'm partnering up with Valerie for my Hurricane Marketing boot camps is because I truly believe in order to maximize on all the possible referrals that are in our territory, we have to have a combination of our direct marketing effort as well as the online lead generation. And in our industry, there really is no better than Valerie. So she knows her stuff through and through. All the attendees at the Dallas boot camp were seriously blown away by the information that she presented combining with mine, and it really does go hand in hand. I love what she talked about with the example of Jane and Martha and, you know, awesome SNF or awesome assisted living community, whatever, because that's just totally like up my alley there. And to kind of piggyback off of that, what I find that the biggest problem that the private duty home care companies have across the country, you know, we're working with hundreds of people, right? The biggest problem that I find people have is they say to me, Steve, I'm going to all these referral sources, all these places trying to get business, and there's no business. They're not referring me. Why aren't they referring me business? And what I find is that the main reason why they're not referring us business has nothing to do with them wanting to refer us. It's the fact that they don't have the referrals to send to us. So, you know, using the example you said before with Jane going to a SNF, going to an assisted living, going to a hospice company, I would tell Jane before she goes in there, let's qualify that referral source to make sure that they actually have referrals to come to us. And then once I qualify it, how often should I go there and should I visit that place? And this right here is actually straight from one of my boot camp presentations on how to successfully develop a referral source. Now, the best referral source that we could always go to is always going to be a hospital, all right? Why do we like hospitals? Simply put, they have the volume of patients that could be referring us business, all right? They have the greatest volume of people, plus they also have the urgency, meaning that they need help right now, and because they were just in the hospital, they have the greatest need. So they usually need a lot of help. So this is where you're going to find those 2x12 shift hourly cases, 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, live-in cases, etc. Now, because hospitals have so much volume to give, you should be going to a hospital at least once a week, if not twice a week. What I really recommend people do is go there and do what I call bookend the week. You show up on Monday, you come back on Thursday, the following week you come back on Tuesday, and then you come back on Friday. This way you can kind of get those people that are going home at the beginning of the week who came in over the weekend, and then at the end of the week you can capitalize on getting those people who are getting ready to come home over the weekend, and you're in the right place at the right time. Now, hospitals obviously are, you know, no-brainer. Yeah, we know hospitals are a great referral source, Steve. How am I going to get in there? That's what I don't have a lot of time to get into. But one of the things that I teach people at the boot camp is to create a power partner or leverage a relationship with somebody who can help you get in there and expedite that process. So we'll talk more about that later. The next best referral source that you could ever have for private duty home care are going to be your SNFs. Now, I don't know if everybody knows what a SNF is. A SNF is a skilled nursing facility, a.k.a. nursing home, rehabilitation center, subacute care. I'll also throw the LTECs in here, those long-term acute care centers, which are basically like a hospital, but they stay there a little bit longer than they would at the hospital itself. Usually they get the surgery at the hospital, then they recover at the LTEC, and then they come home or they go to a SNF from there. Now, again, a big problem is that people will say, yes, Steve, I have 25 SNFs in my territory, and I'm going to all of these SNFs, and I'm not getting any business. And this comes down to the simple fact that all SNFs are not created equal. All right? I'll tell you right now, the easier it is to get into a skilled nursing facility to get referrals, the less referrals they have for you because people aren't knocking on their door. So if you're knocking on the door of every single SNF in your community and you're not getting referrals and they're letting you in, chances are they don't have anything to give you. Now, you see on the screen right now a certain number of discharges. That's the DC stands for. A month is what we're looking for. All right? If in your entire territory, there may be 40 SNFs. but there may only be 2 or 3 that have 50 discharges a month. That is ideal. All right, we are private duty home care providers. We know that the Medicare system, for the most part, works. 80% of people that go through the healthcare system, when they come home, will remain home safely. So we're not after that 80% of the population. However, we are well aware that there's a 19.3% readmission problem, so that 20% basically are the people that should be referred to us. So if I have a skilled nursing facility that discharges 50 people a month, and they refer me that 20% that's at risk for a readmission, that's 10 referrals a month from one referral source. And do the math. Look at your conversion ratios, whatever they are. Most of us convert between 25 and 50%. So if I convert at 50%, that's 5 clients a month from one referral source. So if you have 3 SNFs that are doing 50 discharges a month and you convert at 50%, you can easily bring on 15 new clients. And the cool thing about skilled nursing facility rehab discharges, those clients need a lot of care usually. You're not talking about somebody who needs help 2-3 days a week for a shower. We're talking about somebody who needs help 5 to 7 days a week, anywhere from 8 to 12 hours a day, if not more than that. Anybody ever hear of strokes before? Strokes are my favorite condition for private duty home care. Why? It is the #1 cause of long-term disability. Where do stroke patients come from? They come from the SNFs. So that's how you get out there. Now, obviously, you see on the list here, if you have a SNF that's doing 50 discharges a month, we need to go there every single week, because every week they're sending home 5 to 10 people who are going home, and that means 1 to 2 out of those people could use our help. So you're in the right place at the right time. A SNF doing around 30 discharges a month, you go there every other week, because this way you know they're probably going to have 2, maybe 3 referrals a month. And then less than 30 a month, obviously there are some of those, you can still go there, but they'll probably refer you once, maybe twice a month. So therefore you don't have to go there every single week. You can go there once a month, maybe twice a month if you really like them or something like that. But that's the frequency of visits that we need with our SNFs to get the referrals. Now the next tier of referral sources that I really like are this whole group right here. Independent living facilities, assisted living facilities, your adult daycare, physicians, and attorneys. Now the independent and the assisted livings, we love them. Why? Because if people are living there, they're paying to be there. So if they have a need for our services, they can afford it. So we don't have to worry about people who don't have any assets or funds or anything else with that type of market. Now the reason why I put them in the 3rd tier, though, is they have a limited number of possible referrals. All right. If you think about it, at any given time, say 5% of their patients are in a hospital. So for an assisted living, 5% of a place that has about 100 apartments, that's 5 people that are in the hospital. Not all those people coming home are going to need our help. Maybe 1 or 2 will, so you can get a good 12 to 15 clients a year from one of these 2 types of sources. I'll throw the CCRCs into this mix as well, the continuous care retirement communities. They're a little bit larger than independents and the ALFs because they kind of have everybody together. But again, when it comes to qualifying it, we don't need to go there every single week because they don't need us every single week. So once a month is perfectly fine. Now the adult daycare, the next one in the mix, a lot of people think, well, adult daycare, aren't they competing with us as private duty? Not necessarily, okay? A lot of the times people need help before they go to the adult daycare and after they come home, because the adult daycare is really only going to take care of them during business hours. So you can get a nice split shift case or a case that's going to be overnights or in the evening or whatever it is from an adult daycare to help keep that person living independently at home. That's why I like the adult daycare. Now physicians are, I want to say, a question mark. All right? Physicians are not, I repeat, physicians are not a good private duty home care referral source. However, the reason why I put them on this list is because physicians are like a general in the Army when it comes to hospitals and skilled nursing facilities. Find the physicians in your market who have a private practice, who are the medical directors for the SNFs and the hospitals in your area. Get to know them there, and they can help you get into the SNF and the hospital that you're trying to develop, and they'll put you right in touch with the CEO, right in touch with the director of case management or the director of social services or the administrator or whoever it is who can let you come in there. And if a physician says, hey, I like Valerie's home care company, I want you to work with them, that facility, that hospital will open the door to you and no one else, because the physician is the one backing you up, and that's the medical director. That's why I love physicians. And then finally, attorneys. Attorneys are great referral sources, especially when they're a guardian for somebody. Obviously, they're taking care of people. They're dealing with their finances and everything else. That's wonderful. That's great, okay? But the challenge is, and the drawback is, they don't have the volume that everybody else above here does. An attorney who refers you a lot of business may be 6 to 10 clients a year, whereas one skilled nursing facility that does 50 discharges a month, like I was saying before, they could refer you 10 times a month. So I would rather have one big sniff versus 2 or 3 attorneys, because I can get a ton of business from it. Now, the last tier on here is our people that we visit once a quarter, and those are the 55-plus communities and the senior centers, all right? For lack of a better term, a senior center is really like an adult daycare for somebody who doesn't have funds. That's why I put them in this tier. And then the 55-plus communities, those are good, and you can get referrals from them, but I find that many of the times when we get the referrals that we want, the big juicy cases, the 8-hour-a-day, 7 days a week and beyond, whenever somebody's in a hospital setting, by the time they get back home, they've already been referred by the hospital discharge planner, by the skilled nursing facility, by the home health, the hospice, and so on and so forth. So as a result, I find that the 55-plus community, you're like the third or fourth person to make a recommendation if you get a referral from there. There's always an exception to the rule, but I find you're much better off going to these Tier 1 and Tier 2 facilities first, get the relationship there, and then you'll bring the person back home anyway, straight from there, and you don't even have to go through to 55-plus. So that's my top referral sources. Now, you may notice the home health companies, the hospice companies are missing from this list. That's because they are what I call power partners. We get referrals from them, but those people also call upon all the people that are listed on this slide right now. We can do more than just get referrals from them. We can leverage a relationship with them to get into these places, which will help us to get increase in referrals and business. Now, that is something I'll talk about on the next presentation that Val and I do in a couple of weeks. Finally, in closing, how many target referral sources should I work on at any given time? My recommendation is choosing 20. All right? Create what I call a top 20. Have 2, maybe 3 hospitals that you're targeting. Have 6 to 10 skilled nursing facilities that you're targeting, and then have 10 to 12 of everything else combining so that you have 20 referral sources that you're focusing on. If you have, say, 4 or 5 weekly accounts, and then another 4 bi-monthly accounts, and then everything else is a monthly account, you can visit everybody accordingly, have the right frequency for visits to be able to maximize and get referrals. Now, how do I know that this works? I myself used to run a $5 to $6 million a year private pay home care company for years. When I sold my company, I started training people on this source right here, how to get business, how to get into these places, how to qualify your accounts. Every person that I've taught on how to qualify their accounts, once they started qualifying, they're like, wow, now I'm spending my time in the right places and I'm getting business coming in. And just going back to what I was saying before, that $5 to $6 million a year, that $5 to $6 million a year came from the strength of 1 hospital and 3 skilled nursing facilities. That's where the majority of my business came from, 80-20 rule. So if you have 20 accounts that you're focusing on, 4 or 5 of those are going to give you the majority of your business, and if they're properly qualified, you can easily bring in between 10 and 20 new clients needing 8 hours a day plus 7 days a week of services every single month. So there you have it. So Val, you back?
Yeah, awesome. And you know what, guys?
I get a little passionate when I talk about referral sources.
Yeah, well, you know what? This is just the tip of the iceberg. So you've heard a tip from me and a mountain of information in one slide from Steve. And when you go to the boot camp, it's 10 times more than this, and it just blows your mind. It blows your mind. It really does. Thank you, Steve. I'm going to just take back the screen for a minute.
Yeah, I think I just passed it back to you.
Cool. If you experience a delay, if you can't see the screen for a minute, don't worry. It's coming. But hold on one second here on the current slide. Okay, let me know when you guys can see
It's visible.
Cool. All right, so we're going to take questions and answers. So if you go to your little questions area or your little blue flower, it's a little control panel, you can type in questions. It could be about websites, it could be about referral partners, it could be about, you know, what Steve just talked about how many SNFs, what kind of SNFs, assisted living facilities, who to go to, when to do it. Lots of people have already entered questions in, and we're going to go through them sort of as they came. I'm going to read them off, and it'll either be for me or for Steve, and we'll just go through and answer them. But
yeah, I was going to ask you if you could read them off, Val, because for some reason I'm not seeing anything, so whatever.
That's okay, yeah, I'll just go down the list. That's no problem. So we want to talk a little bit about the boot camp, and this is July 10th and 11th in New York. We talked about that before. Space is limited. And Steve, tell me about the seating and the arrangements and all that stuff.
Yeah, the seating is I mean, basically everything is done first come, first served basis. We only announced it like 14, 15 days ago, and we already have 30-plus people signed up to come to it. It's ridiculous, and it's still 3 months away. So space is definitely limited. We're doing a buy one, get one free special for the first 25 people, and we only have like 11 of those tickets left, so they are going fast. Everything is done classroom style. So when you come in, you're going to have a table there, a desk that you can write on and stuff. We're going to give you handouts of everything, and we really just for 2 days straight talk about all things sales and marketing. So the reason why I like having Valerie there is because I truly believe, and when I had that big, you know, $5-6 million a year business, I had direct referrals coming in from my marketing effort, and then I also had referrals coming in from our internet presence that we had, and we had a combination of the two. So really, we're going to go over everything you need to truly dominate your marketing place. So I'm going to do that full presentation on how to successfully develop a referral source. That's a 90-minute presentation giving you everything from qualifying it all the way through a 5-step process, tried and true, that hundreds of my clients have been using to get in, get past the gatekeeper, how to properly tour, how to qualify the referral source and find out the information, do a lunch and learn in service, get referrals, and become part of their discharge process, which is something a lot of people like, you know, how can I become part of a discharge process? I'll explain you how to do that. I'm also going to talk about the power of partnership and leveraging those relationships with the hospice, the home health companies, the DME, and other people who are calling upon the same places we are to get in there, dominate our marketing place, duplicate our marketing efforts. That's like my favorite presentation. And then I'm also going to talk about how to create specialized programs so that you can separate yourself from your competitors. Why is that important? Most of you listening probably know at least 10 different people in each of your marketing places who do the same thing that you do. So what separates you from your competitors? That's the killer campaigns. That's what I'm going to talk about. And then Valerie, with what you talk about, and not only with the online lead generation, but how they go hand in hand. I mean, the feedback from the people who came to the one in Dallas was ridiculous. And that's why I'm so excited for this one. I mean, do you want to talk a little bit about what you're going to present on? Because your presentations were amazing.
Sure. Well, we always talk about the best formulas for your website and content, and just kind of explain, because many of you, some of you are very technology driven and you're very advanced. You've got great websites. You blog post, and but also there are many of you out there who are not technology driven and a little bit more old school, and you're not into the whole Facebook and websites and LinkedIn. So we do a little bit of beginner stuff, and we do a lot of advanced stuff, and talk about the power of content. And just the example I showed you about Jane and Martha, I mean, that's just one of many. But just to get your referral sources or the people you want to do business with, you want to know what a good door opener is. And Steve will go over 100 different good door openers. He's a master at walking in the door and politely not taking no for an answer, and politely wooing whoever it is that's sitting at the front desk. But also, if you need an internet way to get into those referral sources, there's tons of strategies there too. So we talk about all of the things that go along with having a great website, great content, great strategies for LinkedIn, Facebook. It goes on and on. In everything you do offline, whether you're networking or referring or creating those referral sources, all of that should also be talked about online. because people feel like you really care when you take the time to talk about them and how great their business is on your website or on your Facebook page or on your blog or whatever it is, or in your e-newsletter. People love to see a little bit about themselves. It makes them feel like you cared enough to think about them later. You're not just walking in there trying to get referrals and that's it. So there's all kinds of different strategies we're going to talk about. It's a day-and-a-half boot camp, $399 per person. I think you've got 11 left of the 2-for-1 or something like that. 11?
Yeah.
11 spots left, something
I
like
think
that.
it's what we have. I know we sold one this morning, and we've been, like I said, it's every day people have been signing up. So it's really been an exciting time, and I think it's because of the, this will be the 4th one or 5th one. I think it's the 5th one that I've personally done, but this would be the 2nd one that you and I did, and each one has progressively been getting better and better and better. And somebody just signed up right now. So Tony just came in and said somebody just signed up right now, so there's 10 tickets left. So, but anyway, yeah, the success of the Dallas one, like, really just catapulted everything, because adding that internet marketing, I mean, it just makes sense. This is everything that you need to get referrals from social workers, get referrals directly from the consumers with your internet, and then also using both. Like you said, the whole example of Jane and Martha is phenomenal. And that goes hand in hand to exactly what I teach people to do with the direct marketing. And now you're kind of doing a 2-for-1, which really is now something that no one else in your marketplace is doing. And that's how you can grow 500, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 hours a week in as little as 6 months after attending the event. Like those are the results that people have been telling me after coming to the events. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun too, and I think people had a great time. And by the end, it was standing room only. I mean, there were a lot of people in that little room, and I know that you hadn't planned for 100 people. That was more like a 50 people kind of a room. And by the end, I mean, every seat was full every single day. People didn't want to miss out. It was even bad weather. Boy, we tried to do Dallas.
Yeah, there were people getting into car accidents because it like snowed. Who would have thought that it would be 22 degrees in Dallas in February? So go figure.
So people I'm going to leave this slide up here so y'all can copy it down, but I will send out this replay. But if you want to register, you just go to stevethehurricane.com/bootcamp. It's that easy. Everything's there. There's videos. You can talk about, you can see everything you want to see. You can see testimonials from people who came to the boot camps. Everything you need there. So I'm going to go down, if you don't mind, Steve, some questions and answers here, and we'll see what we can find. Let's see. I'll just start. Some of these are just about what, can see the screen, not see the screen. So the first one is, can I use my Facebook instead of e-marketing newsletters? Maria, you can use whatever you want, but you have to be adding content to your website. You have to have an e-newsletter that goes out to your referral sources, to your adult children of aging parents, to maybe leads that didn't close, whatever it is. You need to have something that gets in their face once a month and says, we're still here if you need help. And here's all about the things that are happening with our office and all the community outreach that we've been doing, and we care about this community and we care about you. And Facebook's one way to do it, but e-newsletters really gets into their inbox and actually is more personal. Is it possible to get a copy of the slideshow for this and part 1? Okay, a lot of people are going to ask that, so I'll just, people always do. I'll just tell you this. We don't give out our PowerPoint presentations because they're proprietary, but I will send a replay of this video out to everybody, so you'll be able to see the whole thing, from everything that I did, Steve did, and this question and answer session. Let's see, great idea. How can I mine LinkedIn links or connections to turn them into offline relationships or referrals? Robert Duncan. We know Robert. Robert, yeah, we're going to talk a lot about LinkedIn. In fact, I have a whole video on how to use LinkedIn to turn an online connection on LinkedIn into an offline connection over coffee or lunch or whatever you're allowed to do. But there's all kinds of ways you can use LinkedIn to your advantage, and I would absolutely encourage you as professionals, please get on LinkedIn, have a professional profile, fill it out, put your picture in there. Actually act like you care about your LinkedIn profile, because people in your local area, not just healthcare providers, but other business owners, people who have are adult children of aging parents, people who own businesses and are trying to wear a million hats just like you, are on there, and they may need help with their mom and dad or their aunt and uncle. So it's really important to keep your LinkedIn profile clean, up to date, and well thought out. Okay, let's see. I am attending. This is from Anne. I am attending the seminar in July in New York City. Will you be going over this again? Also, will you be able to print your information out today? I'll let you, absolutely, Steve will be. Steve, you can answer that. We'll send out the replay, Ann, but Steve, you'll be going over all this plus a lot more we just talked about, right?
Yeah, and you're going to get a copy of everything, Ann. So you'll have it there. You're going to get a folder when you show up that has everything in it, so you can take plenty of notes and stuff. So you'll have you'll have a PDF of the PowerPoint presentations that we present.
Great. Yep. And I will, this time around, for Dallas, we weren't quite as cool as we are now. And so I will also give Steve all the slides so he can put all mine in there too, and you'll have everything. Let's see. How do you sell the prospect on letting you feature them in your blog, your e-newsletter, if you can't legitimately claim you have viewers? Well, Larry, you don't have to say you have 600 people on your list. You just say, hey, we put out an e-newsletter every month, and we were wanting to feature you in it. You know, I'm not sure that that person's going to say, well, I'm not going to do it if you don't have more than 55 people looking at your e-newsletter. So, you know what, Larry, just leave that part out. Just say this is what we do. Just make sure you do it. And get them in there, get that e-newsletter out, and start adding people to that e-newsletter list. You probably already have a list of contacts you could send it to. Okay, Maria, and I think this is for you, Steve. How can you help me get leads?
Do you have 6 hours,
Yeah.
Maria? I mean, the biggest gist of it really would be is that we're going to teach you how to qualify your referral sources.
Yeah.
All right. So everything I talked about before, you're no longer going to be, fishing blindly or throwing a handful of darts at the dartboard trying to hopefully hit a bullseye. Instead, what we're going to do is teach you how to make the bullseye the size of the entire wall, so that every time you throw a dart, you're going to hit the bullseye. That's what we're going to do. We're going to teach you how to create relationships with people who are willing to help you. The shortest answer I could think of is probably when I went to Florida. I'm from New Jersey originally. That's where my company was. But when I first started doing this, before I started training other people, I wanted to make sure this worked in other markets. And I took a 4-month contract with a company down in Florida that wasn't doing so hot. They were losing around $20,000 a month when I came on. So I came on and worked with them. As soon as I got off the plane, I didn't know anybody in that market at all. I immediately sought out people who had been around for 10, 15 years in the business, marketing representatives from hospice, home health, DME, and other companies that are going to the same places that I'm trying to get into, and I met them at networking functions, I met them at community events, things that were going on in town. And I asked them, can I have a cup of coffee with you one-on-one? And they're like, sure, no problem. I took them out for coffee, I picked their brain, and I basically won them over and asked them, where should I go for business? Who should I talk to? Who should I know? And there's always somebody willing to pay it forward to help you out. And they told me all the best places to go to. As a matter of fact, there were several of them who were kind enough to offer to introduce me to some contacts within some of those places so that I had a warm introduction, and then I built upon it from there. That's probably the fastest, easiest way to get in there, and that's really the entire Power Partner program that I'm going to teach in like 2 minutes. That's what I would do. Find a Power Partner and have them help me get into places.
Perfect. Okay. Larry, Smith stands for Skilled Nursing Facility. The next one might be a client of yours, Dina. Steve, I'm in the process of developing Power Partners, but until then, do I cold call the hospitals and LTACs? What is your suggestion, please?
Very good question. That list that I showed you, that whole top 20 list, hospitals are so difficult. It could take you a good 6 months to a year to get into a hospital. So what I would suggest for somebody who's brand new, especially if you're the marketing representative, and Dean, I think you are one of my clients, if you are a marketing representative for a company, I would not attempt to develop a hospital right away. I would put that to the side. I would go after the home health, the hospice, the assisted living, the independent living communities first. Reason why is you can probably develop one of those and start getting referrals within 4 to 6 weeks of starting the job, whereas a hospital may take you several months to start getting referrals. Once you get into the assisted living, you start getting into the home health, you start getting into the hospitals, and you're getting referrals from them. Ask them if they go to the hospitals, and then piggyback and shadow them in the hospitals, getting those warm introductions, getting you past the gatekeeper, getting you past the people who are going to stop you and kick you out of there. I developed the hospital, Robert Wood Johnson, here in New Jersey in 26 days. Now, the reason why I developed it so quickly is because I had a plethora of people who knew me in the industry. This was like 8 years into it. So every time I went to that hospital, I always showed up with a different nurse liaison, a different representative or whatever from another company, and they just kept introducing me to people over and over again. Plus, while I'm saying hi to a social worker, another person would come over and be like, oh, hi, Steve, how are you? And the social workers were like, wow, you know everybody. And I'm like, I work with all these companies outside the hospital. And they're like, well, if you work with all of them, and we do too, we're going to work with you. And then they all started referring me. So, the best way to get into these hospitals is really through people who can help you get in there. So until you have some power partners, you can go cold calling in the hospital, but I don't recommend it.
Okay, great. All right, let's see. Another question is, I'm going to answer it the same way Steve did. The question is, what do you think about SEO? And I'm going to say, do you have 6 hours? So, SEO is search engine optimization, and that refers to your website, the content that's on it, your local area, showing up on page 1 of Google as a whole thing, a lot of things that refers to, Max. And there's a lot of things we could talk about. I'm going to send you the link to the part 1 of this series so that it's just me talking about web-related stuff and how to get referrals online and how to get leads online. So you're going to want to watch that and get a little more information about SEO there. If you need more information than that, you can talk to us offline. What about targeting professional geriatric care managers? That would be for you, Steve. That's from Greg.
Can you ask that again? I'm sorry, Val.
What about targeting professional geriatric care managers?
GCMs are great referral sources as well as great power partners. So yes, I do like targeting them. The reason why they were not on that referral source list that I put down, because I tried to put down like facilities and buildings to go to, whereas GCMs, not only can we get referrals from them, but we can also work with them because they get clients from the same places that we do. So that's what I call a power partner. They can give you good clients. I kind of would put them in the same category as an elder law attorney. You can get good clients from them, but you're not going to get the volume that you would from a hospital or a SNF or an assisted living because they're probably dealing with a much, much smaller clientele basis. But yes, they are good referral sources. 1 or 2 GCMs in your area is all you need.
Okay. So many questions here. I got to kind of skip through a few. Steve, in one of your videos, you talk about having a reason to visit your referral sources so many times, using a hospital as an example. Do you just stop in to say hi every week, or do you usually have a reason to stop in? Do those people ever feel like you're bugging them?
I love that. Whoever asked that question, who was that?
Joe.
Joe? Okay, so Joe, good question. That is my most commonly asked question. Obviously, what's our reason for dropping by? Our reason for dropping by is to get a referral, to get business. But we can't just come in and say, hey, do you have a referral, without them feeling like we pestered them. So in step 5 on how to successfully develop a referral source, I'm going to give you 5 different things that you can use so that every week of a month, you have a different reason for coming there so that you're not pestering them, so that you are a resource, and so that you can schmooze. Now, the reason, and I'll just use one for example, like say you bring an industry update. So say you look up something that has to do with, healthcare in our industry, you find a nice, 2-page article on something Obamacare or whatever, right? You print it out, you go by, and it's like, hey, Joe, I came by today. I know you're busy. I just wanted to drop this off to you. This is an article I found about the changing laws coming to Medicare because of Obamacare and everything else. And that's a conversation starter. Now, it does 2 things. One, it allows me to start a conversation and gives me a reason for coming there, but also it shows to Joe, who's the social worker in this case, that I am a resource. I'm actually researching the industry. I know what I'm talking about, and I'm an added value. I probably taught him something that he didn't know beforehand. So therefore, instead of me coming there being a pest, trying to give him some chocolates like everybody else does, I'm actually coming by with a purpose, and I'm an added value. So therefore, they appreciate my time, and when they see me, they're more likely to give me a referral and want to work with me because I'm not a waste of their time like everybody else.
Okay. I got a good one for you here.
You guys are great, just shooting them out. I love this.
Oh my gosh, it's just crazy. Okay, Dan with, okay, this is one of your buddies from Ride It Home. Dan with Ride It Home in SoCal. I went to this boot camp.
Hey, Dan. Dan, I remember
Hi,
you,
Dan.
yes.
I went to this boot camp, and 4 months later, we are doubling our leads for the week. Thank you, Steve. Steve, I am going to start a weekly blog. Are there any concrete topics that you think would grab the attention of my listeners? Thank you, Bookem Dano.
Bookem Dano, that's
yeah.
awesome. Val, you answer that one, because, I mean, I could talk about a million different things, but thank you for the plug, Dan. It was a pleasure meeting you, my friend.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Dan, since we're the content queens of the world over here, I will just tell you that we do blog for some ride-at-home folks, but if you're going to start a blog, it's best that the content is unique to you and not copied from other websites or news organizations, because that's not going to do you any good. But having unique content and writing it yourself is also really hard. So we have writers that we hire that are well-versed in the healthcare industry. They look at the news topics. You know, what's really interesting is that every single month, and you all know this if you've been marketing for any length of time, there's some kind of healthcare celebration. Like May is Older Americans Month, and you know, there's something in April, there's something in March, there's something every single month that you could talk about. So I recommend 4 blog posts a month at the minimum, so 1 a week at a minimum, and talk about some of the things that are happening in your local community. Talk about the things that you're doing with your office, community outreach events, senior fairs. April is whatever month. You know, you can look that up online. Just look up healthcare celebrations in 2014 by month, and there's all kinds of places you can get those lists of what we're talking about or celebrating. You know, first week of May is Nurses Week. I mean, there's all kinds of things out there you could talk about. So, boy, that was a very nice plug, Dan. Let's see. What websites do you recommend to manage an e-newsletter list? We use MailChimp. It integrates with all of our clients' websites, and so the e-newsletters are automatic. They go out automatically,
yeah.
and it's awesome.
We use MailChimp, too. They're the best.
Yeah. Let's see. What about if we already found a hospital contact and it seems to be a standstill for the past 3 weeks? How do we move ahead to the next level?
That's a really good question. I see that it happens. There's a term I'm going to teach you right now, all right? And it's an acronym, all right? Write this down. It's capital B as in boy, M as in Mary, F as in Frank, M as in Mary. BMFM, and that stands for book a meeting from a meeting. The reason why my clients, the reason why the boot camp attendees are so successful is when we see somebody for the first time, instead of saying, hey, this is great, thank you so much for your card, Joshua, you know, I'll be in touch, and then I keep calling that person and emailing them, and the relationship doesn't develop, it just becomes stagnant. Instead, every time my people meet someone for the first time, this is the 21st century. We all have smartphones. We all have our business, you know, on our phone or on a tablet, or at the very least, we still carry, you know, a daily planner. I actually pull out my cell phone and go to my calendar, and I actually book a meeting, book my follow-up right on the spot, so that this way, hey, I met you for the first time. Can we grab a cup of coffee? You know what? Let me pull up my phone here. How about we have a cup of coffee on Thursday morning next week at 9 a.m. Now, I have an appointment. I don't have to email this person. I don't have to call them back. I don't have to wait for anything. Worst case scenario, if someone calls me to reschedule it, when they call me, I reschedule it before I get off the phone with them. This way, the relationship is always constantly progressing and developing, because people aren't going to be like, oh, no, I'm not going to, you know, I don't know what my schedule is going to be like when you're sitting in their office when their calendar's right in front of them. So you book a meeting from a meeting. That'll help reduce that from happening. Now, if it's already happening, try going another angle. The good thing about hospitals is hospitals have many employees, and there's always somebody else that we can talk to and start a relationship over from scratch. But use that book a meeting from a meeting to your advantage. Use that networking events, community events. Every time you meet a hospital, social worker, discharge planner, whatever, always plan your follow-up while you're there before you leave.
Okay, I'm unmuted now. Okay, cool. Last question we're going to take is the boot camp focused on private duty or home health care Medicare? And I would say both, correct?
Both.
Oh, yeah, we even had assisted livings as the last one, so.
Yeah, we had ALFs. We have transition care management companies that come there, like the assisted transitions. I have, for this one, I think there's some infusion therapy companies that attend, GCMs attend. I mean, you know, the home care, private duty, and home health and hospice, they're the majority of the attendees, but it's not limited to those guys because, put it this way, if you get business from hospitals, rehabs, and other facilities like that, you need to be at this event.
Absolutely. And if you're in the Northeast, you have no reason not to be there because you could drive. So anyway, all right. Well,
yeah,
I
most people who sign up right now are from out of state, believe it or not. It's crazy.
Awesome. Yeah, people came from everywhere to that Dallas one, so that was pretty cool. Okay, so I want to thank you, Steve, and thank you, everybody, for attending. I will send out the video replay. Any last words from anyone? Steve, George, anybody? I know George didn't talk much, but we know he's there.
I just wanted to say, you know, thank you so much, Val, for having me on. Thank you, everybody, for attending today. You know, this is my passion. This is what I love to do. I've walked in your shoes. I know what it's like to, you know, bang your head against the wall. Why are they not referring me and everything else? And, you know, I hope to one day meet you.
All right, everybody, we'll see you in New York, and we will do one more of these webinars, Steve and I together, before the New York event, and it's coming up in a couple weeks. So I'll send out the notification for that. We'll talk about some more good stuff, and we'll see you guys online and offline. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.